Today is Thursday, the 9th of March, calendar of Pope Gregory, and I'm speaking to you now, Nekaneno Toka Tupac Enrique Acosta, Wewekoil. I'm speaking to you from the Otham Jebet territories, also known as Phoenix, Arizona. And at this very moment, at this time, on the East Coast, in the town known as Washington, D.C., in the capital city of this United States of America, as a country, at the National Cathedral of that country in Washington, D.C., there's a prayer service that's being conducted. It's being conducted on the eve of the March on Washington by the Native Nations. The Native Nations March on Washington that's going to take place tomorrow. Tonight, the prayer service at the National Cathedral. Accordingly, this morning at dawn, a message was sent to the conveners of that prayer service. And today, this afternoon, we're sending on another message. Another part of that message will be concluded this evening when the sun sets over relatives in the Kingdom of Hawaii. Why Hawaii is important is because supposedly the same name of Columbus, and let's talk about the name Washington, no? It's known. It's known. You may have an alternative fact or an alternative history, but it's known that among the indigenous nations, the original nations, the name of Washington, the general, the name of Washington, the town, is understood to designate the identity of Town Destroyer. His name is Town Destroyer. Town Destroyer is the name that the Haudenosaunee gave to General George when he marched through their territories on a scorched earth policy. And the town itself that took its name from him, simply that name was extrapolated further into that designation of deceit, Washington, D.C., as the Town Destroyer, and the capital city of the colonizers, because Colon in Spanish, anglicized to Columbus, is the same designation, so that this cathedral that was built there is a temple built within the confines of the Town Destroyer town and within the district of colonization. But there's a prayer. There's something sacred. There's a humanity that's being called simply to be who they are and what we are and how we should be with each other. And they're doing this convening in a cathedral. It could be done in a mosque. It could be done in a temple. It could be done in a synagogue. It could be done under a tree. It could be done under the sun. It could be done at any time and anywhere of this Mother Earth. A prayer could be laid down. It could be uplifted, rooted in the earth, an expression to what we believe, like the leaves of this tree. It believes the same as we original nations, that we were meant to be here. We were meant to share life on this Mother Earth. So why this is significant? Again, because as the day goes forward, as the dawn, this morning the message was sent to the conveners of the National Prayer Service. And that message inscribed is available on the tags of this live feed on the Nashville Indians post. It'll be there. The next post will be come up this evening. And as the sun goes down, tomorrow, for our folks who will be marching to the Capitol, there's an essential question that's going to be answered tomorrow. We will know. By tomorrow sundown, we will know. The doctrine of plenary power, the dogma of plenary power, established by the U.S. Supreme Court, I believe it was 1903, when the case was decided. That doctrine is dead. The fatal wound to the doctrine of plenary power, meaning the power of the United States as a set of governments of states, 50 states, over the original nations, and now I am talking about even Hawaii, plenary power of the native Hawaiian kingdom. That plenary power has received a fatal wound and will no longer recover. That wound was delivered by the uprising of the water defenders, the water defender nations at Standing Rock over the winter of this past season. Whatever was accomplished there, whatever was done there by the uprising, by the uplifting of the battle that is still going on, the field of battle is very much present. It's there in D.C. now. We know this, that the concept of plenary power of the U.S. government over the original nations of Abya-Yala, our name for this continent, the Great Turtle Island, has received a mortal, fatal wound and will never recover. It may die within the truncated presidency of President Trump. It's going to be truncated. It's not going to last. Or it may take whatever it will take, but it will never come back. The world's conscience has been made aware. Awareness has been raised to consciousness, and that consciousness was moved into critical consciousness. Why we're saying this now, it's going to be known by tomorrow. Will the March on Washington be inscribed and subscribed within the domestic constructs of the U.S. federal system of sovereignty, including the tribal nations, or will it be an action of self-determination in resistance, rebellion, and regeneration of our confederacies, of original nations of this continent, in the path of self-determination? To speak of that, we now clarify. The U.S. federal government, that cathedral, its districts, its states, its colonies, its non-self-governing territories such as Puerto Rico, and also we could speak of Guam, Samoa, those areas, the different territories that fall under that jurisdiction. Each and every one of them are elements of the sovereignty that was implanted here from the King of Kings through the papal bull of Pope Alexander VI in 1493. But that doctrine of discovery, which has now been repudiated, that doctrine of discovery which is now relegated to the history of antiquated and irrelevant political doctrines of racism and colonization that are now illegal according to the United Nations declarations made in 1960, 1514. All peoples have the right of self-determination. We look forward to what tomorrow will bring. We are looking forward beyond tomorrow what will continue to be our struggle and fight. And we believe that these are treaty issues. Therefore, we know that treaty issues cannot be addressed as contractual disputes within the courts of the United States government. The treaty issues that require treaty issue venues of response and adjudication and correction. They're international law, issues of international law. They have to be taken to the international realm of evaluation and justice. It requires an international system of justice. Whether the U.S. courts are at the point where they might admit that, but we know that the plenary power that Mr. Trump used to allocate the permit to the Dakota Access Pipeline at the drill pad overlooking the Missouri River or Lake Oahe at the convergence of the Cannonball, that is a flawed and illegal document of procedure that pretends to paint with the rule of law the outright theft and abrogation unilateral of a treaty obligation and the civil right responsibilities of environmental justice of all downstream constituencies from that point of the drill pad at the Cannonball River. So tomorrow, what we are seeing is that there will be a determination made on which side of that alignment will we be marching, will we be coming forward to and from. The call of self-determination, the message will be sent by the Continental Commission in complete, full solidarity with the destination of self-determination of indigenous nations that we move through the March in Washington, D.C. and return home to bring the fight to the territories of the original nations, the homelands and home territories of the original nations in self-defense, in defense of the watersheds of our Mother Earth and our original nations. Here in the territory of Arizona, known as the state of Arizona, we're looking at a very severe crisis impacted because of the uranium mining at the Grand Canyon, which the Havasupai Nation are facing as a matter of urgent perils, similar, very similar to the fight at Cannonball, to the fight at Standing Rock. And so this morning the message was sent to the convening of the prayer service at the National Cathedral. Today the message will be sent to the march that will come out tomorrow, and then it will conclude with a welcome home for our legations and delegations, relatives and friends and allies who are traveling to D.C. and will return home over the next few days as well. We wish you good travels. We wish you strength and power, and that what prayers have taken you to this destination, that they will also bring you home safe and sound. Ayo, this is Tupac Wawakoya, World Water 1, Semanawak.